Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into the vast, high-stakes universe of The Expanse, a political, interstellar drama where Earth, Mars, and the Belt are always one step away from war. Strap in, because this story is going to get crazy by the second. The television series The Expanse is a highly regarded science fiction series, not only because of its accurate depiction of space travel, but also because of its compelling story that shows humanity at its best and definitely at its worst. Set hundreds of years into the future, The Expanse shows how humanity has advanced beyond the planet Earth. Yet basic aspects such as greediness and politicking remain. The universe in which the show is set is expansive, so let's get to know first the mighty players in the series. In the future, Earth has become the superpower that colonized the solar system, and its main governing body is the UN. Meanwhile, billions of other humans have transferred to Mars, formed the Martian Congressional Republic, or MCR, and turned the Red Planet into another superpower within the inner planets. Martians want independence from Earth, but Earth doesn't give it, leading to a cold war between these two that spans decades. The Belters, humans who've been sent to the asteroid belt to mine resources, have formed their loose governing body named Outer Planets Alliance, or OPA. Belters have suffered centuries of oppression from both Earth and Mars, despite playing a crucial role in delivering resources to both planets. And in the heart of these political bodies is the lone ship Rocinante and its crew of misfit heroes. Season 1 shows how the Rocinante came to be, as well as the conspiracies that shaped the story. The ice-hauling ship Canterbury, and later the mighty Martian Navy ship, the Donegal, have both been destroyed by stealth ships of unknown origin. Surviving these tragedies in a stolen Martian ship, the Tachi are James Holden, Naomi Nagata, Alex Kamal, and Amos Burton. They are taken in by Fred Johnson, one of the respected figures of OPA in charge of the Tycho station. In return for taking them in, Johnson asks Holden and the others to find out what happened to Johnson's associate, who's gone missing for weeks. So, after modifying the Tachi and renaming it Rocinante, Holden and his crew fly out. Their journey leads them to Eros, one of the many asteroid stations in the belt. Here they meet Josephus Miller, a world-weary detective who's been investigating the case of the missing Julie Mao. Julie is the daughter of Earth-based business tycoon Jules Pierre Mao, but she has ties to the OPA. In fact, she's the associate Johnson has been looking for. Holden, Miller, and the others make a gruesome discovery when they find Julie's body severely infected by protomolecule, a non-living infecting agent that depends on high amounts of radiation. They also discover that a group of scientists arrives on Eros and is setting up equipment all over the station. These scientists are turning Eros into essentially a station-wide experiment with the protomolecule at its center, disregarding the lives of the million innocent Belters. On Earth, UN Undersecretary Christiane Avasarala tries to de-escalate political tensions between Earth and Mars by discreetly investigating the stealth weapons that destroyed the Canterbury and the Donegal. But her investigations lead her to believe that someone is trying to stoke the fire of war between the two planets, and that Jules Pierre Mao has something to do with it. Much worse, someone inside the UN is protecting Mao and is responsible for both ships' demise. In Season 2, Holden and the crew piece together the evidence of a terrible plot. Prior to arriving at Eros, they discovered a protomolecule sample, and with it were the logs that told where it all happened. The protomolecule was first discovered on Phoebe, one of Saturn's moons, by Mao's company Protogen. On paper, Protogen was just a research corporation, but in truth it was also a tech company that built stealth ships. The ships were made on Earth and used Martian stealth technology. The Protogen, by Mao's directive, wanted Earth, Mars, and the Belters distracted from their research, and so they blew up the Canterbury and the Donegal as a cover to hide their illegal activities. Mao has the audacity to continue his illegal business because someone high up in the UN is covering his tracks. Avasarala, the cunning woman that she is, finds out that it's Sadavir Ehrenreich, UN Deputy Secretary General, who's protecting Mao. Meanwhile, in Tycho Station, Johnson, Holden, and Miller all agree that Eros must be destroyed before the protomolecule becomes harder to contain. Their plan is to have the generation ship Nauvoo crash into Eros and knock it towards the sun. However, the plan doesn't come to pass as Eros unexpectedly veers off its course. To make matters worse, it's accelerating towards Earth. The Rocinante does its best to catch up with the errant asteroid, but fails to do so. Miller, who is left on Eros, discovers that it's Julie who's controlling the asteroid. Or rather, Julie's consciousness has somehow merged with the protomolecule, allowing her to control Eros. Miller convinces Julie to redirect Eros away from Earth. In the end, the asteroid crashes into Venus. After this planetary-level crash, Naomi promises the crew that she'll launch the remaining protomolecule sample towards the sun, but instead she gives it to Johnson, believing that the Belters should have a fighting chance too. In a way, Protogen has achieved its goal of stoking hostility between Earth and Mars during the Eros incident. Prior to this, Martian ships have destroyed Phoebe to not let it fall under the UN, who have come to investigate why the station has been quiet for weeks. In retaliation, the UN blows up one of Mars' moons, Deimos, and then the Ganymede incident happens. A full-out battle between UN forces and the Martian Navy destroys the orbital mirrors around the station, taking thousands of lives and leaving thousands more seeking refuge. The Ganymede is an agricultural station and the primary food source for the Belters, so its destruction is a huge loss for the oppressed population. Earth and Mars both believe the other fired the first shot. Martian Marine Bobbie Draper, who survived the conflict, is forced to say the Martian Navy accidentally fired the first shot. But no one believes her when she tells about the humanoid alien figure she saw, which she believes is involved in the conflict. Bobbie thinks something is being covered up. After forcing her superior to reveal Mao's protomolecule technology project and finding out that the Martian government is involved, she defects to the UN and offers the information to Avasarala. In the aftermath of the incident, the MCR Navy declares Ganymede a no-fly zone and takes control of the operations there. Ehrenreich meets with Martian Minister of Defense Khrushchev and discreetly assassinates him. Khrushchev is the Martian official involved with the protomolecule project, and Ehrenreich wants him gone so the UN can have full access to it. Presently, the Tycho station accepts Ganymede refugees. It's there that the Roci crew meets Prax, a botanist who lost his daughter in the crisis. The crew then heads to Ganymede to help, and they manage to sneak under the MCRN's radar. They make another horrible discovery after finding out about Project Caliban. This is Mao's protomolecule hybrid project, in which sick children are infected with the protomolecule, turning them into humanoid alien figures much similar to what Bobbie encountered earlier. This project was first started in Io, one of Jupiter's moons, and Ganymede is its testing ground. Season 3 starts with the UN declaring war against MCR, following the series of events that escalated the tension between the two planets. Avasarala, together with her bodyguard Kotyar and Bobbie, meets with Mao on his ship. Mao tries to negotiate his place in the UN-MCR war. However, Ehrenreich contacts him and tells him to get rid of Avasarala to tie loose ends. By some miracle, Avasarala and Bobbie escape Mao's ship and are rescued by the Roci crew, who are now en route to Io. Avasarala pleads with Holden to pass the video evidence of Ehrenreich's involvement with Mao and his inhumane project. Eventually, the Martian Navy receives it, as well as Anna Volovodov, an Earth-based Methodist pastor who's a close friend of the UN Secretary General. Anna exposes Ehrenreich for his treason, which leads to his arrest and the resignation of the UN Secretary General. In Io, Holden and his crew save Prax's daughter, capture Mao, and destroy the site. Avasarala takes the highest position in the UN. These series of events would eventually end the war between the UN and MCR. But just when things have calmed down, another existential concern rises, literally. Remember Eros that crashed on Venus? Apparently, the protomolecule infecting the whole station hasn't been destroyed. Rather, it has evolved into a large structure that takes off from Venus and forms the ring, just outside Uranus. Earth and Mars send fleets to investigate the structure. The OPA sends their fleet too, since they have been recognized as an official governing body for the Belters. Kamina, Johnson's assistant director, has previously retrieved the Nauvoo, refitted it, and christened it as the Behemoth. She becomes its captain, Ashford as her first mate, and Naomi joins her fellow Belters as the chief engineer. Before anyone can investigate the ring, Holden gets wrongly accused in the explosion of another ship, but in truth, it's Clarissa Mao who sets off the explosion and frames Holden in revenge for sending her father to jail. Holden and his crew fly towards the ring, decelerating just before entering it. It's at that point when he starts having visions of Miller. Apparently, this version of Miller is a construct of the protomolecule and is known as the Investigator. From him, it's revealed that the protomolecules were first engineered by an ancient species known as the Builders in order to create the ring. As Holden discovers upon entering the central station inside the ring space, the Builders were somehow destroyed by another species, and the ring was used to destroy planetary systems. By this time, other ships have also entered the ring space, but they all have been forced to slow down, leading to fatalities. It seems that the central station doesn't like fast-moving objects. As Alex puts it, if things go too fast, something gets nervous and grabs them, like a defense mechanism. The station starts charging energy when a nuclear missile hits it in an attempt to destroy it. Ashford thinks the ring is going to destroy the entire solar system, and so he convinces everyone to destroy the ring first using the Behemoth's laser. After a bloody standoff, Holden convinces others to power down their ships, and Clarissa, after having a change of heart, manages to shut down the Behemoth. The station eventually releases the ships, and in a shocking reveal, the ring is actually a network of 1,300 wormholes connecting all the habitable planetary systems in the Milky Way. Season 4 shows the disruption of balance in the solar system after the discovery of the ring's purpose. Since it shows basically safe passages to other Earth-like planets, it inadvertently starts a space gold rush. The Earthers want to explore new frontiers. The Martians stop their terraforming project on Mars to see other alternative planets. The Belters, especially the Ganymede refugees, want to find a place they can finally call home. Avasarala realizes all these, and to maintain political stability amidst the demands for space colonization, she orders a blockade near the ring. She also supports the idea of a custodian inside the ring space. The behemoth is renamed the Medina Station and is located inside the ring in order to control the traffic of ships entering and exiting the space. Camina becomes its commander, while her former first mate Ashford becomes a sort of OPA police, capturing renegades. Avasarala also orders the Rocinante to investigate potential proto-molecule exposure on a planet known as Ilus. After Naomi rejoins the crew, the Rocinante flies out to its destination. Upon arriving at Ilus, the Rossi crew finds themselves amidst tensions between Inners and Belters. As it happens, a ship of Belters first arrived on Ilus and has settled there. Then, an expedition ship supported by both Earth and Mars was also sent, but got destroyed during its landing. The surviving passengers, whom the Belters call Inners, are now wary of the Belters and think they sabotage their ship. In return, the Belters are afraid the Inners will drive them away from the home they've always wanted to have. As if this isn't enough, Holden and his crew discover alien structures protruding from the planet's geography. Miller identifies these structures as something made using protomolecule, which means the builders have inhabited this planet before. The Rossi crew attempts to ease the tensions between Inners and Belters. Holden accidentally activates the structures, leading to cataclysmic events such as groundquakes and tsunamis. Miller knows how to stop the proto-molecule activity on this planet. He needs to reach an artifact, an energy circle that can shut down the proto-molecule. This is presumably the same artifact left by the species that ended the builders. With the help of a settler named Okoye, Miller reaches the artifact and successfully stops all the proto-molecule activity on the planet. The Rochi crew believes the settlers can finally live there in peace. Meanwhile, Avasarala loses the public support after announcing the blockade. Nancy Gao, a political rival, fully supports the space colonial expansion, earning her massive support. And so, when the election comes, Avasarala loses to Gao, and Avasarala is eventually sent to Luna, the moon. While all this is happening, Ashford apprehends Marco Inaros, an OPA pirate and Naomi's former lover. Earlier, it's been found that Marco has ties with someone from Mars, which allows him to continue his space piracy. Marco has been acquitted previously, but now that Ashford has cornered him, he won't let go. Unfortunately, Ashford gets ambushed by Philip, Marco's son. Ashford is spaced, but not before recording his conversation with Marco and saving it. The season ends with an ominous note as Marco starts sending asteroids cloaked with Martian stealth technology towards Earth. Season 5 sees the rise of Marco Inaros as the leader of the rogue Belter faction named Free Navy, while the crew of Rocinante face their own personal issues. Amos returns to Earth, where it's revealed he experienced abuse in his childhood, giving context to his calm yet violent tendencies. He also visits Clarissa, who's been imprisoned for her crimes. Later, Amos convinces her to join the Rochi crew. Alex returns to Mars to reconnect with his family, but sadly his wife doesn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. He meets with Bobbie, who's in the middle of an investigation. Bobbie has been through a lot since the Ganymede incident. Recently, she's become involved with a gang that steals military equipment. After the gang gets ambushed, she decides to work for Avasarala in investigating Martians that trafficked military equipment to Belters. Camina discovers Ashford's ship and his remains. She sees the recording of his final conversation with Marco, so she sends it to Johnson, who in turn sends it to Avasarala. With all the evidence that Marco is in collusion with some Martians and is preparing to launch an attack on Earth, Avasarala informs Gao about her concerns. However, Gao won't listen as she's focused on her government's space expansions. Naomi returns to Palace Station where she finally meets Philip, her son with Marco, but Philip captures her and brings her to Marco. It's revealed that in the past, Marco used her codes to kill millions and then let her live with the guilt. She also realizes that Marco has brainwashed Philip to think what they're doing is for the good of the Belters. She warns Philip that Marco is manipulative and only serves himself. A mother to son, she tells Philip that sometimes walking away is the only choice anyone ever has. With that, Naomi chooses to escape Marco's ship. Later, she gets saved by Bobbie and Alex. Unfortunately, Alex loses his life due to the dangerous maneuver they have to do to reach Naomi. Meanwhile, Holden is left in Tycho Station while his crewmates deal with their issues. He attempts to stop the theft of the proto-molecule sample, which has been in Johnson's custody since. But Holden fails. The sample gets stolen by Marco's henchmen with the help from a traitor within Johnson's circle. Johnson gets fatally shot and the sample gets delivered to Marco. Remember that first asteroid that Marco sent to Earth in the last season? It finally hits Earth, causing devastating damages to West Africa. Simultaneously, a targeted impact hits the Martian Parliament. A second asteroid hits Earth before Avasarala manages to contact Gao and instruct her to use the Watchtower satellites to spot the stealthy asteroids. Gao manages to give her orders before the third asteroid hits near her plane, obliterating her and most of her staff. With his bombardment successful and in possession of the protomolecule, Marco Inaros claims himself the leader of the Free Navy, who will now become the ruling power of the solar system, as well as the Ring. Later, it's revealed that Marco allied with Admiral Duarte, a high-ranking Martian soldier. Duarte would provide ships to Marco, and in return, Marco would give him the protomolecule sample. Their combined forces have taken over the Medina Station inside the ring space. Duarte and his rogue party of Martian settlers proceed to Laconia, another planetary system connected to the ring, and form a government there. The last rogue Martian ship, the Barkeith, follows, but they mysteriously get devoured by the same entities that destroyed the ring builders. In Season 6, Earthers, Martians, and the Belters finally set aside their differences to face their one enemy, Marco Inaros and his Free Navy. Holden and his crew manage to destroy Azure Dragon, the ship that's coordinating the asteroid strikes towards Earth. Deciding to stay at the front line, Avasarala leads the joint fleets of Earth and Mars in entering Ceres, the most important port in the system, especially to Belters and to Marco, who uses it as his source of supplies. But they discover that Marco has abandoned Ceres, stripping the remaining Belters of their food and necessities. Avasarala sees this as an opportunity to have the Belters unite with them. She seeks an audience with Kamina, who still remains in high regard among the Belters. After a tense public discussion, Kamina joins Avasarala and lends the joint fleet her forces. Meanwhile, Holden and the crew discover the mysterious events where ships are devoured by an unknown species, and their prime example is what happened to the Barkeith. It looks like the entities that destroyed the builders are triggered by a certain threshold of mass and energy, erasing anything that reaches that threshold. In the meantime, it seems like Marco is on the brink of success with his forceful takeover on the solar system. Then he gets a rude awakening. Duarte tells him he won't give him Martian ships anymore. Duarte has reached his goal, to use Marco and the Free Navy as a cover for his fleet to secretly go rogue, fly to Laconia, and finally settle there. Plus, Duarte already has the protomolecule, which he can use for further research. Duarte doesn't see Marco as useful anymore, and so the Martian leaves the Belter on his own. But Marco won't easily surrender. Preparing his remaining forces, Marco pretends all is well and hypes up his army to go to battle and reclaim the Medina Station. A bloody fight ensues between the Free Navy and the UN-MCR Belter joint fleets. The battle is inconclusive, but Marco's ship, the Pella, manages to move forward towards the ring. Inside the ring, the Rocinante has managed to secure the Medina Station, but not without disabling its powerful weapons. Avasarala warns them their forces have been depleted after the encounter, and she wishes Holden and others Godspeed as they're left to fend their own. Naomi proposes to trigger those entities right when Marco enters the ring. It's a huge risk since they'll be dealing with the unknown, but Naomi points out this is the only way to erase Marco forever. And so, with bated breath, the Rochi crew wait for the right time to trigger an explosion just outside the ring. They finally spot Marco and his ship. Naomi remembers Philip before pushing the button. Marco realizes what's about to happen, but it's too late. The entities devour Marco and the rest of the Free Navy, erasing them from existence, and thus ends the short-lived terror brought by Marco Inaros and his rogue Belters. In the aftermath of the events, an independent transport union is established to monitor the ring space. Holden is appointed its president, but he steps down soon and gives the position to the more deserving Kamina. Although Naomi doesn't know it, Philip actually survives. He flew out of his father's ship right before they entered the ring. All is well for now as the Rocinante flies off into the vast expanse of space. Comment down below what you think is the next big adventure of our misfit heroes. Oyedeng Beltalauda, and see you in the next recap.